All right, I think we're live now. It's CPO, and we are hanging out number 26th time since we started this. I don't even know what the date is. It's Friday, July
18th.
18th. Yeah, thanks. And we skipped basically an entire hangout session because of the 4th of July weekend here in the United States. And then the following weekend, I was going to try and reschedule, and I ended up making a decision to go visit a club meeting. So we're back on the regular schedule. So if you're watching this post-recording, you'll know why we skipped one now. But at any rate, we have a quorum, so let's do some quick introductions, make sure we see how everybody's been doing the last couple of weeks. I will start with my last couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it later, but I've been busy doing a lot of things. I've been working on rebuilding my 500 that ended up, it's more, it started out as a Tarot 500, right? And now it's mostly a line 500 because I've replaced enough parts on it that, and almost all the parts I replaced with are a line. I picked up a whole boatload of stuff from Lower Heli. I think it's Lower Heli or Lower RC, whatever the place is. Had really good prices, really good shipping, so almost everything on there now has been replaced from the original Tarot, but that's okay. I'm going to finish it up. I'm going to have it ready for IRCHA. That's my goal. And then my 550 is flying awesome. Took it out for a test flight a couple days ago. Have some battery problems, so I only got one battery through it, but it's flying nice. My 450 stretch 480 now is I'm trying to leave it alone because it's flying really good. So, but I do have that new ESC to put on it, so I'll probably do that here pretty soon. And I've been working on my 680 hexacopter. I have been, you guys probably saw, I made a procurement of a little 3D EPP foamy, which has been a hoot to fly. So I've been playing around with that in 3-minute chunks and crashing planes with my son and trying to rebuild them. So it's been busy. And that's kind of what I've been up to the last couple of weeks. So let's see who's next. Let's do Adrian. What are you up to, Aid?
Well, obviously we had the show on Tuesday. That was quite interesting. Given a lack of Matt Botos, that was even more interesting.
Yeah, that stinks.
And got some new bits and pieces. Got my mug.
Yeah.
Got my T-shirt.
Got some swag.
Yeah, and I got my new banner as well, which is absolutely massive. You could just see it down the back there.
Yeah.
And been playing around with a little mini Protoss of a friend that I was just finishing off, which had some dodgy tail blade grips, was quite interesting. Bit of a head scratcher, and I've got something really, really awesome, which is old, but it's awesome. I got it's a Robbie Nova Quattro that's been converted to turbine.
Whoa. Do you have it like handy?
Give me a second. I'll go and get it. If you can fit it in the room, it's massive.
See, that's something that you have to show. You can't just tell.
Yeah, I did post about it as well. It's there's some quite good pictures about the mechanics. Hang on, let me go and get it.
All right. Sorry, I'm having dinner, which is a chocolate bar and a cup of coffee. That's all I could come up with tonight.
Dinner of champions.
Yeah, I've been just working away, trying to rebuild a plane to take it out with my son tomorrow morning, and just got to chugging on that, and then realized the time, and of course, time gets away pretty quick. So I literally just like stuffed all that into a corner to come join the hangout, so when my wife comes home, she doesn't freak out because I have plane parts all over the living room.
You crashed the Sensei.
Yeah. So while we're waiting on Aid to get settled back, yeah, My son crashed it, but it's my fault. We were training. I was on master, he was on student, and he was doing really good, and I was starting to get confident with him, and he was feeling a little bit confident, and he lost orientation, and it was a return flight path back, so the controls were reversed, but he lost the orientation enough to not know which way was which, and he got confused, and I thought, okay, I'm going to let him ride this out. He's high enough, he can figure it out and see if he can come out of it. Well, he couldn't come out of it. It got worse. Started to go down to a spiral. So I took control and was trying to fly out of it. The problem is I was controlling the airplane, but I forgot to let go of the trainer switch, so I wasn't doing any good. So I learned my lesson on training is it's almost like the heli throttle hold thing. You have to get that ingrained in your nature. And my first instinct was to start moving the sticks. My second instinct was to let go of the switch, and I did it backwards. So by the time I remembered I had to let go of the switch, he was already beyond recovery. So totally my fault, but it's a new fuselage that I'm putting back together. So lessons learned. All right, Abe, let's see this thing.
Yeah.
Good luck, right?
Yeah. Right. So it's what they call a two-stage turbine. The old stuff back in the day, the really old stuff, was what they call direct drive. So there was the way a turbine. You're familiar with the way the turbines work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
Sucks gas sucks air in the front into a combustion chamber, compresses it a little bit, ignites it. It gets it expands when it burns and turns air comes out the back, turns another fan which is connected on the shaft to the front fan and keeps the whole thing going. Now the old turbines, what they used to do is they used to then gear down off that shaft and drive the rotor head off of that main shaft. The trouble with that is that you can overheat the turbine quite easily, because if you overload it suddenly, all the heat builds up and all the load builds up and it's just really bad. This is two-stage, so you've got the front half of the turbine here, which is just like the normal turbine, but the air comes out the back of the turbine through another fan, which is connected to a gearbox down the back here. Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can see that gearbox. Yeah, there we go. You can see that. So there's a 90-degree shaft gearbox here, which is then connected to the traditional clutch fan mechanism there, which then goes up to the clutch, and then the two-stage drive to the main thing, which means that the drive for the rotor head is completely disconnected from the main turbine at the front. It's just gas. It's just air. And it's about 8 horsepower at the shaft, which is...
That's pretty phenomenal, right?
It's about 2.5 times-ish a 90.
Wow.
And it sounds awesome as well. The startup is quite cool because there's a little motor. That little bit that sticks out the front here. This bit here is a little motor, and there's a little piston on it, which then engages on the main drive. This thing's so big, I'm having to be careful, really careful about where the tail is. Right. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that in there. So it spins there's the main turbine shaft there.
That's a really cool shot, actually.
That's cool, isn't it? Yeah, so it just spins it up, runs it on. There's a traditional glow plug in the side. I don't think you can quite see. It's just in there. Where is it? No, you can't see it. Traditional glow plug, which ignites the butane on this side. There's a gas bottle over here. God, this thing's huge. Yeah, so there we go. Right. So there's a gas bottle here, and that just runs into the motor, and it fires it up on the butane first, and then when it gets it up to temperature, it then switches over to the paraffin. It's kerosene, which is paraffin with some oil in it, and that's it basically. That's a 1.5 litre fuel tank, and it does that in about 8 minutes. So
you haven't posted any video, right, of how it sounds?
No, this is there is video of this model around from back in the day, but it hasn't flown for about 5 or 6 years, if not more. So I've just been going through it, and it wasn't put into storage, if you see what I mean. So it needs a fresh tank of fuel putting through it, and I've just had the rotor head apart and the tail apart and the main gear out, and sort of greasing and oiling everything up and making sure everything's okay before we go and fly it. He'll be getting a couple of new batteries on it. Things like updating it up to 2.4 gig rather than 35 megs. It was on PCM before. It had proper aerial and stuff. It was that's how long it's been since it's flown.
Wow.
Is it 700 blades or bigger?
800.
800.
800. Right.
I suppose you pick up parts of your local hobby shop.
Well, the thing is that that's the blade.
Jeez.
That's about
Can you move back like 2 feet so we can see it? No.
That's what I'm doing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big old beast. It's the same size as a big electric. I mean, back in the day, there wasn't 800 stuff around. Now the 800 size sort of electric stuff is pretty common. Oh, it's got this waggly thing on it, which I haven't seen for a while. I don't know what that's.
Are you gonna leave that on? Or are you gonna try and make it fly barless?
I'm trying to convince the owner that it needs to stay as it is and be flown as it is.
For historical purposes, at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. Damn right. Because this particular model is actually, I think it's the first of its kind, and it was flown at one of the what used to be the main model show in the UK. At Sandown Racecourse, and which is a horse racing course, and a guy called Bob Johnson, who was one of the main demo pilot of the era. Before, this is the days before the superstar. All these sort of like 17-year-old superstars that we have these days, and it was the first of its kind, and this is the very model that Bob Johnson used to do a death spiral. So knife edge on its side, forward elevator, downwards, down to sort of underneath the fence line at Sandown Racecourse, and you didn't see anybody do that. And to see people doing that with something like this was unheard of. But it was, the mechanics of it are all Robbie Millennium Nova Quattro bits. So it's, back 10 years ago, the bits were falling off of trees, literally. But now I'm not sure if you can get a lot of this stuff now. So it's a case of, if it was to go in, I'm not sure it would come back.
Right.
So
it looks like it's about as tall as it is long.
No, it's not quite that bad. But,
who's the manufacturer of that model?
Well, the mechanics are a modified thing. It's called a Robbie Nova Quattro. So I don't know if you've heard of the Millennium, the Robbie Millennium, 90 size helicopter. That was pretty popular, sort of eight years ago or so, something like that.
I've seen them on the net and stuff, but I've never seen one up in person.
Well, they did 3 different versions of the basically very similar mechanics. The Millennium had a traditional main gear setup, So just a normal large main gear, which was coupled straight to a pinion on the clutch bell. Whereas the Nova and the Nova Quattro have this two-stage belt setup, which I mean today, if you know, is pretty common because of things like the KDS and the Goblins and stuff. They're all this sort of two-stage belt setup. Whereas this setup that you're seeing, this two-stage belt setup that you see here was unheard of. That was a modern thing back then. But it was a beautiful thing to fly. But being a turbine, it was flipping heavy, like really heavy. I mean, just the model as it sits here is, a lot heavier than a 90 size or an 800 size sort of modern electric. But then you add 1.5 kilos of fuel to that, and it's just ridiculous. But as I say, it had so much power, just insane amounts of power.
Now the tail shaft is if I remember right, the pictures you posted up earlier, the tail's torque tube driven.
Yeah.
Was that common back then?
Yeah.
I thought all the old school stuff was tail or belt.
No. Well, with 90 size, the everything was pretty much torque tube. If you look back at the Raptor 90s and the Millenniums and the Fury, the miniature aircraft Fury, they were all this, just like on the X7 and the KDSs and the little Gowies. There is big bevel gear on top of the main gear with a small bevel gear that goes straight onto the shaft. Can you see? I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But the whole belt versus drive torque tube thing is a long-winded sort of thing, and torque tubes aren't all they're made out to be. Belts do very, very well, in my opinion. They have some quite considerable advantages and not that many disadvantages.
I think we ought to have a topic on that someday. I've only flown one belt driven. Everything else I've flown's been torque tube.
Yeah, it's a long-winded one, and I personally prefer a belt myself for the durability. But the torque tubes are so prevalent these days; it's very difficult to find a belt drive tail that isn't a Goblin.
Looks very similar to the KDS Agile, doesn't it? That one.
Yeah, they're all pretty similar. But another sort of fairly unique thing on this that you don't see is it's 4 servo 90-degree CCPM. So there's 2 servos on each side. So you've got there's a front corner and then a back corner. Where is it? There it is. That one there, and then it's exactly the same on the other side. And then the head geometry is, probably can't see it, but the head geometry is 45 degrees out of phase. So that the front left-hand corner, I think it's the front left-hand corner is elevator. So it doesn't go when the swash plate goes. When you put elevator in, it goes in across the model at 45 degrees. So when this corner goes up and the opposite corner goes down, that's for an elevator. And then the mixer arms are all set up to put it back into phase. That makes sense.
It makes 0 sense, which is why it's so cool.
Yeah. How many channel is the receiver, and does each servo have a separate channel?
Yeah. It's well, I mean, the turbine's really, really simple. It only needs 1 channel. It's basically an on-off and a governor speed, kind of a bit like an electric, really. But other than that, it's 7 channels with the turbine. So it's not too bad. Luckily,
is that an old Jet Cat on the front?
Pardon?
Is that an old Jet Cat on the front?
Yes. Yeah.
Expensive.
Yes. Oh, this. I think when this thing was new, it was about £5,000 worth. £5,000. It's just an insane amount of money. Right, I'm gonna go and get this thing out of the way, unless you guys have some more questions about it.
Yeah, Casper, go ahead. I think I actually cut him off. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, sorry.
Anybody else have anything? Oh, there you go, Casper. You're up.
No, I was good. I was just wondering, since you mentioned the dual servos, I wondered if each had a separate channel or if they were tied together.
No, it's all the mixing is, because it's flybar. All the mixing is done in the transmitter. It's not like a flybarless where all the mixing is done in the flybarless. It's all done back at the transmitter.
Yeah.
All right, go put that thing away, and we'll move on to see how Clay's doing right now.
Right, I'll be right back.
All right. What are you up to, Clay?
I'm good, man. Suffering a little bit. I took a slam tonight.
Ow.
Been skating a lot. Summertime's here, you know. All the fellows like to get out and skate. I've been doing that. I've been flying. Got my 450 back together. I had a good crash with it the other week, but she's back solid again. Other than that, just doing my normal, man. Work, family, kids.
There you go. Not in that order, right?
No, you never know. You never know what order it's gonna come at you, man.
I hear you. All right, cool. Dave, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. I haven't had a lot of time. Been flying my tricopter a little bit, and for some unknown reason, I've not had a single problem with the Afro ESCs. I mean, it's.
I think it's that body design you're using.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't figure out. It's like every time I threaten to replace something, it works great. The minute I get comfortable with it, then it acts up. So I don't know what to do with it.
Just always be worried; it'll be fine.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get over is being worried. But I was flying it out this afternoon, and some 10-mile-an-hour winds, and it handled fine in the wind. So I figured if that doesn't upset it, it's probably good. So, but time to put that thing away. I got to get back to my helicopter. I've been playing with that thing so much.
Yeah, mine's been hanging from the rafters for quite a while, actually.
Yeah.
But it's fun to drag it out when it when it's time to play.
Yep.
What so did you ever update firmware on your ESCs? That one?
Yeah, I put the latest Simon K firmware on them.
Okay.
And originally, after I first put the new firmware on, I thought I was still having stability issues, but I think it wasn't actually the ESCs. I think it's getting the gains set correctly. And it's been really bizarre because the gains aren't set like anything that I've read from anybody else. I had to really lower the P down considerably, like 40, and I cranked the I gain up. I think I'm like at 35, and that seems to be like the sweet spot. Otherwise, normally it would hover fine. The issue that I would have occasionally was in forward flight, or even in going sideways, or if there's a little bit of wind. I would see this bobble. It would just kind of, but it was very, very light. I mean, I don't know if I can catch it on a GoPro if I tried. And I can hear the motors oscillating in sync with that vibration. So I still thought it was a motor ESC issue. But after playing with the gains a little bit more, that seems to be gone. So maybe it's not an ESC motor issue at this point. Maybe I just had my gains cranked up too high.
Huh. Interesting. I had a similar sort of a bobble with mine when it would come down from altitude. As I would bring it down, I think it would catch some wind and it would do this gyro sort of thing, and then it would settle down and then be fine again. So I don't know. It could be the same thing. It could be hitting something with the gains are just a touch high, and it's freaking out for a second and then going back.
Generally, when you're coming straight down, you're going through your own wash.
Yeah.
That tends to make it wobble.
Yeah, it come down straight down nice and level. The only time I ever had a problem was actually moving sideways, or forward. It was, it would look like it was on a bumpy road. It was just a slight bobble as it went forward, even sideways, just this really slight bobble. But I can hear the motors at the same time oscillating, trying to. I don't know if the gains were too high and it's trying to make too many adjustments or what. But dropping the P down to about. Actually, I think I have it at the P at 45, I at 35, and it's calmed down considerably. It's a lot quieter. I also had to replace my bearings. The DT750s. I put it in the air last week, and all of a sudden I noticed it was just screaming. So I replaced the batteries, and it's quiet again.
Nice.
If it's a slow wobble, then it's probably more your I gain than the P gain.
Right.
Maybe reduce that a little bit more.
Yeah, descending down through your own wash is always going to be a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Because it's fixed pitch, it's always going to be pushing air out the bottom of it. And if you're going forwards and slowing down, so you've got a slight nose up attitude as you're coming down, then you're going to be projecting that wash forwards, and then you're going to be flying through it, and that happens with all helicopters, not just quads and stuff. But the quads do seem to suffer from it a bit more than the helicopters because of the fixed pitch, I think.
Right.
You can't push.
I did order some new motors to try, only because I wanted to try something different. So I ordered a set of those prop drive 800 kV motors. Should be here next week. So I'll put those on, and a lot of people seem to like them. So.
Yeah, I think if I were to buy new motors right now for any multi-rotor, I don't know if I'd do DT70 or 750s again, just because I think for their day they were the go-to motor for cost and benefit. But these days, there's so many other options out there that are probably easier out of the box and probably more stable.
Right.
But,
yeah, I'm. My brother-in-law asked me to build a tricopter for him. He's been bugging me for a while, so I finally said okay. So I ordered them DT750s, and to my surprise, when I put them on those things vibrate like crazy. I'm not sure if I can even be able to balance on it. It's just the whole frame. You can hear it buzzing. It vibrates so bad. Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
You might have to try and work on getting that can balance.
Yeah.
Well, okay, cool. So for the heli stuff, what are you getting back into next? What's your next heli event? Or
I just got to put my 500 back in the air and remember how to set up the brain, and I mean it's probably been, it might be 2 or 3 months since I've flown that thing. So I just got to put it back in the air.
Cool.
Charge some batteries. Oh, interestingly, I met a guy the other day. I had to go to a meeting somewhere, and the place where I was meeting at, as I pull up in the parking lot, this is really early in the morning, I noticed a guy out not too far in the distance flying a quad. So I had to go walk over and talk to him for a little bit. It was an interesting conversation. He's only been doing it a few months now. He has a TBS Discovery that a friend of his built. His friend flies for Universal Studios in Los Angeles, and he does film work.
You mean used to, according to the FAA?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work for him anymore. But what was interesting was that he said he tried helis a while back and didn't like it. He said it was just too much work, wasn't fun, couldn't relax, and so his friend built him this TBS Discovery. He doesn't know anything about it, but he can fly it. Flies fairly well, and it's fully loaded. I mean, this thing's got all the bells and whistles on it. Although he's just basically, hovering around a small area, but it's set up. It's got a GoPro on it with stabilized gimbal. It's all set up for FPV. It's got it all. I'm just surprised. It surprised me to see somebody who doesn't really know a whole lot. He doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know anything about the flight controller, how to set it up, or he knows nothing other than he turns it on and puts it in the air. And yet he's got, this thing is just decked out to the nines in every way.
So it's interesting you bring that up, because when I was doing my flying field shopping, looking for a local club, I went to a club and I met a guy who had backed up his trailer to the flight line, and he's got thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in planes and all that, and obviously he's bringing his trailer to the field. He's fairly well equipped. In there, we got to talking. And we were talking, kind of got the question came up of, what do you fly? And I'm like, oh, I fly pretty much everything. So, planes, helicopters, multi-rotors. And he said, yeah, I got one of them turrets. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you have? And he goes, well, I got and I'm like, hexacopter? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I got one of those. I got a 680. He goes, yeah, that's what I got. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he goes in, grabs it off the floor of his trailer, kind of throws it on the ground, like no regard. I mean, I'm thinking like there's got to be $1,500 easy in this thing. He like throws it. He goes, yeah, I don't know, I can't get the thing to fly right. I'm like, well, what's going on? Yeah. And he couldn't tell me anything about it. Couldn't tell me any symptoms of why it didn't work right. And I got a sense it was a very similar thing where somebody built it for him, and he didn't know anything about it. I mean, and he was throwing it around like it was, a $10 toy instead of a $1,500 toy, but it was decked out with the NASA, all the FPV, video transmitter, a camera, and he didn't know enough about it to make it fly. And I thought that was interesting. So I was going to try and help him, but he couldn't give me enough information to tell him even where to start. He just would be like, yeah, I don't know, something's wrong. I can't get it to work with the transmitter. And I'm like, well, what's going on? I don't know. So anyway, so I evacuated that conversation, and then he pulls out another quad and throws it onto the ground and says, I got this one too. I'm looking to sell these if you know anybody looking for them. He's like, oh, I'll take like $1,500 for that one, and I'll sell this one for $400. And I mean, it blew me away for two reasons. One, I spend so much time trying to learn what I have and how to perfect our little craft, this hobby. And to see somebody like that has so much money invested in stuff that doesn't even know anything about it, and two, doesn't really seem to even respect it enough to take care of it. It just really shocked me. But anyway,
I agree with you, and I think that's I was talking to my wife about it the other day. I said this hobby isn't as expensive as it was 10 years ago, but it's still not cheap. I said, but at the same time, would you want somebody to grab a hold of a 700 size helicopter that you can pick up for just a couple $100 and go out there and fly and have every Tom, Dick, and Harry trying to put it in the air? I wouldn't. It just
that's what scared me with the Hobby King Assault when they put that out at a price point that was making everybody think, and there are a lot of great pilots flying those. I've seen them around, but that is the one where it's like, my first helicopter, should I get a MCPX or one of those Assault 700s for the same price? Go with the MCPX, please.
I think with the money and stuff that you spend in the time, like you say, to learn it, you get a respect for it. And
I think everybody should be required to build their own aircraft.
I
because
agree.
you really begin to value what a crash does, what it takes to get it back, and then you respect it to the point where, it freaks me out if I'm trying to walk out the door and I bang the tail rotor against the door jamb as I'm trying to get out. I mean, that stuff drives me crazy. This
Yeah.
guy was just throwing stuff around like it was made of rubber. I don't know.
Yeah, he had it in the air, and I asked him, what kind of flight controller you're on? I really don't know. And so he brought it down, and they're like, oh, that's a NASA, and you got the GPS module. And he goes, really? I thought that was the antenna. Like, no, this is your antenna over here. It had a 5.8 gig infrasense 600 milliwatt, transmitter on it. He just didn't know anything about it other than put it on the ground, turn it on, turn his transmitter on, and fly it.
Don't go outside.
All the gear, no idea.
Yeah.
That type of people have been around for quite a while. For the people with too much money that want to go and do stuff, and they just pay other people to do it for them.
Right.
And I actually quite like those people because it means that people like me who don't have too much money but like play, get to play with all sorts of cool stuff.
That's right.
Turbine.
Yeah, if you're one of the guys that's building the stuff for the people with too much money, that's nice.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But what worries me is the fact that these quads are so easy to fly that people with no idea can just put it up in the air and go and fly it. But if something goes wrong, then they don't necessarily. I'm not saying that this is exactly how it is all the time. Everyone. But if you look at the average human being that you see on the road, and think, how often do you get cut up, or someone pulls out in front of you, or does something stupid on the road, and then you sort of put that sort of type of person in control of something, fairly large and powerful, and that is easy to control. So there's no learning curve to it other than if something goes wrong, then are they going to do that alert?
Well, I think, like we were just saying, if you're going to do this, you got to have respect for it. And I mean, well, let's be honest with you. Some of these helicopters can kill you.
Easily, yeah.
I mean, that's the good thing, at least, about the helicopter side of this hobby is the helicopter demands respect because you're not going to be able to fly it until you understand how to control it. Now, some people try and they get out of the hobby really quick, but I think it's the flip side of the multi-rotors with all the self-stabilization and all that make it so easy. But the helicopter, at least the significantly sized, I'll say, maybe even 250 and higher or 450 and higher, you either are going to have to learn it or you're going to have to leave it because it's not going to be just toss it in the air and play with it. Otherwise, it gets really expensive to try that.
Yeah.
And they're not toys. I mean, a lot of people coin the word toys. It's 700 millimeter blade spinning around in front of your face is not a toy.
Right. Same with the quads. Even a small quad, if it comes down from any real altitude, it can do some damage. And I've seen pictures of people who've got their face cut up pretty bad from those blades. Those slow flight props are like razor blades.
Well, yeah, it's instead of two, 700-800 millimeter blades, you've got four, 6-inch blades coming at you, which 12-inch blades. Sounds just as bad to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy.
But equally, the one of the nice things is with the electric stuff now is that there's two sides to this stuff with the helicopters. Is that because people see the electric stuff, even something as big as the X5 or even the 600, Lego 600 or something like that, 600 size things. People, when I'm flying over at Slade's Farm, people will just walk straight across in front of us whilst we're flying.
Wow.
And they don't, so they're not seeing this thing as being a big, dangerous sort of thing, which is a good thing because it means that we don't get as much hassle when we're about flying, but equally a bad thing because they walk straight in front of us. But
Whereas if you ran one that sounded like a chainsaw,
yeah, if you run a nitro down there, you'd get half the town on your backside.
Yeah.
So it is it works both ways.
yeah,
But
I'd prefer the low key side these days.
Definitely.
All right. Okay, cool.
How are you
Just-
liking the field that you just joined?
What's that?
How are you liking the field or the club you just joined?
I'm liking it a lot, and I can, yeah. I mean, I'll go into that a little bit now. I have an update video. I did video 1, which was finding a field, part 1, and then part 2 is, hey, I found this, but I'm kind of cramped for time, and I want to finish the story. But a couple cool things about the field. Number 1, it's fairly decent in size, which is nice. Some of the fields seemed a little bit cramped, because of we have a lot of tree growth out here, and so the fields are cut out of trees. So the trees are actually making your boundaries in some cases. And some fields that I looked at really felt not much bigger than my own yard, and I'm thinking, well, I don't want to pay money to fly here. It seems just as cramped. So, but this field I picked is fairly significantly sized. It's got a lot of open space. They don't have any power. Which none of the clubs I looked at did. So charging in the field is going to be something I have to figure out, and learn from. And actually, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that tonight, about field kits and stuff like that. But it's got an enclosed kind of a clubhouse deal, and enclosed meaning in the wintertime they'll even bring in I guess like propane little heaters and kind of keep it warm in the winter. And they've got another covered sort of a canopy thing, a flight line with, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 stations at it, a very nicely manicured runway. But the important part for me was off to the side, they actually have a heli area that is designated for heli pilots with a little, it's got a little brick landing pad, not huge. I mean, it's big enough to land and take off on, which is all I really care about. And there's a lot of open area. It's basically one end of the flying field where you can fly the heli around and kind of stay out of the way of the plane. So that was important to me, to have a place where I didn't have to wait for all the planes to come down before I could fly. And so some of the other fields would say, oh, yeah, we've got this little area here that you're allowed to hover in, but that's all you can do is hover. And I'm like, well, I can hover in my front yard. I really want to try and fly now. So this field had an opportunity for some place to actually fly the helicopter. Another thing that caught my attention is the fact that I think coming up in the next month or so, I have to look at the dates again, they have an actual heli event, some sort of a fun fly or a heli fly-in or something. So I thought, okay, at least they recognize this is a real part of the hobby. Because I could tell some of the other places I looked at, they didn't like them helicopters and multi-rotors very much. So this place seemed a little bit more open-minded. You've got your old-timers for sure, but for the most part, it's a very progressive club. And so I went, visited, met some really cool guys. I mean, I've been out there 2 or 3 times just popping in to see who was there. And, everything from young kids, teenagers, flying scratch-built foamies, from flight test out there to, guys flying nice balsa planes and pretty much everything in between. Everybody was super nice, so I signed up, went to the meeting last Friday, which led a very heated discussion about the FAA rules, but it was interesting, and I think it's going to be a good fit. I wish it was a little closer. It's only about 20 or 30 minutes away, depending on the traffic, and that seems like not very far away. But it would have been nice to find a club that was 5 or 10 minutes away. But I know some of you guys drive for hours to find cool places to fly, so I should count my blessings. But I'm liking it so far. I'm gonna try and get out there tomorrow morning with my son, and I'm finding it's fun just to hang out with people and talk shop and help them work on their planes. And I spent half an hour last night there talking to some guy just about my little 3D foamy, all kinds of questions, and then, what kind of transmitter is that? And we spend 10, 15 minutes talking about the Tyrannus and why it's different than other radios, and it's just kind of cool. It's like taking the stuff I get from hanging out with you guys on the Hangouts and localizing it a little bit. So
yeah, you're gonna like it. It's gonna help you for sure. I wouldn't have progressed in this as nearly as fast had I not had people around me to get hands-on. You can read, you can look at pictures on the internet, but until it's in front of you and people show you and help you, it helps a lot.
Yeah. So the one thing I haven't found yet is the other helicopter pilot. I'm sure there's got to be one out there, but every time I've been there, I haven't seen anybody with a helicopter but me. So I'm actually trying to figure out now how to find who those people are and then try and connect with them so I can intentionally meet them or be out there at a time, maybe plan a time to go out there together. But so that's my next challenge with the club, and there's not a whole lot of communication between members. It seems like the club, and this is probably common amongst most clubs, is kind of a push of information from the club to the membership, but not a real easy way for the members to connect if they're not already connected. So I'm trying to find out who the right people are to connect with, but I'm really looking forward to flying with somebody else who has a heli, and particularly I'd like to find somebody experienced, who can give me some tips. And it's one of those things like I throw my heli in the air, and somebody who knows, like you guys, you probably watch me fly and be like, oh yeah, your head speed's too high, like right away. You just know that, you can tell. Years of experience tells you that. Where I'm, not even thinking about head speed, I'm thinking about something else. So I'm looking forward to that sort of engagement. I just got to find who those people are to do it with.
One thing that's worth trying, if there isn't much, as you say, if there isn't much sort of inter-member communication, is to offer to do it.
Already done.
Nice. Google Plus community. There you go. Can you send this link? Send it to the chairman and say, could you sort of send this link out? Would you mind if I do this kind of thing?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did this week. As I sent a note to the vice president of the club, who's kind of responsible for all the technology, and proposed putting together some sort of. I know you said Google Groups, and Google Groups is probably a great place, but to be honest with you, most of these guys, if they're going to be on anything, it'll be Facebook. So even a Facebook group to start with would be nice. But so I'm working with him. I think he was thinking that it was another thing he was going to have to manage. And I'm like, no, I'll do it. Actually, if you set it up, it kind of manages itself. As long as you get the membership there, they'll talk to one another. So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Don't do Facebook. I hate Facebook.
I can't help it. I tried to get all my friends to move to Google with me 2 or 3 years ago, and I have you guys on Google, but almost everybody else I chat with is on Facebook.
I was looking at the stats because we auto post everything from Google Plus to Facebook, just so all the post timings are all the same, and all that sort of thing. And we have more followers on Google Plus than we do on Facebook now.
Oh wow!
By a considerable margin, and sort of Facebook went to sort of 500 likes in the period of about a week. The first week it went up to 500 quite quickly, and then it's just been a trickle of ones and twos since then. And it's more or less a flat line, but with a slight upward trend. Whereas Google Plus, it's been the same sort of trickle of people coming in, but it's been a lot more. And I think we're up to sort of almost 700, 692 on Google Plus now. Whereas we've only got about 600 or something on Facebook.
I really like Google Plus as far as multimedia sharing. It's great for pictures and video and web links and all of that. Plus, the notification system works so much better.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I didn't join it until joining you guys. I had a Gmail account, but I'd never gotten on Google before. But I think it's pretty smooth. It's not hard to figure out. It's pretty user friendly, and there's not a lot of junk.
Yeah, and I like that you can control. I mean, these days I pretty much send everything to public, but I like the fact that you can, send a post to this group of people and another one to this group of people, and you don't necessarily have to join a group with them to share to a specific, subset of people, or have a private conversation just, in the same manner that you would have a public conversation. It's all kind of seamless, which is nice.
Yeah, the privacy on Google Plus is a lot better. You don't. I was finding when you post something on Facebook, and then people, it would be friends of friends, because you get that whole, one of your friend has commented on this other person's post, but the other person isn't one of your friends. So the privacy of Facebook is pretty poo. And from the pages, from a Facebook page sort of perspective, so like the Rota's page, the viewing figures, because Facebook are trying to extract money out of you, they don't distribute.
To promote your post, right?
Yeah. If you want all of your people that like your page to see your post, you have to pay them money, and it's quite a considerable amount. Whereas Google Plus, it goes out to people. The people, your followers choose how many of your posts they see, because there's a setting on the circle to see how many posts from that circle appear in your stream, and it defaults to all.
Yeah, see, the other thing I don't like about Facebook, and actually I recently moved all of my, so I had a Facebook page, Everything CPO, and just last weekend, I think it was last weekend, very recently, I moved all of my stuff over to a user account, which is CPO Chris. It's an account I created originally that I was going to try and use. And of course, they make you use a real name, so I had to come up with something other than just CPO. It didn't work. And apparently they don't like dictionary words, because Everything CPO didn't work either. But anyway, so I have this personal account. I know several of you have found it already. And I'm abandoning my page. And the reason is, with the page, I can't interact with anybody else. The only way I can interact with people is on my own page. So if I am, I want to be friends with, somebody else, I can't just be friends with them and then comment on their posts and see their feed. It's kind of like you operate in your own little eco environment of your page, and I didn't like being restricted that way. So whereas with Google Plus, your page, like my Everything CPO Google Plus page, still interacts with everybody just the way a user would, and it's much simpler.
Yeah, and on top of that, you get all the insights. So it's like having a personal page, and you have all of the bits and pieces that you get from having a page in terms of the analytics side, and that the My Business little part of it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
With all the insights and everything like that. I've just posted a thing on the event timeline thing with a YouTube video for Veritasium. I don't know if anybody's seen the Facebook fraud one. It's quite an interesting watch at some point if you fancy having a look at it.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at that.
It's quite a bit of an eye-opener, actually.
All right, well, let's get to Casper. How are you? What have you been up to?
Well, I seem to be stuck in the last two phases of your new mantra, and that is crash and repeat. So last Sunday, took the 450-480 out, trying to resolve the tail issue. I can get it pretty stable with 100% heading hold on it, but I still get a slight shimmy to it. So I took it out and flew it. One session it was fine. I said, well, let's see what it does in rate mode. I took that thing airborne with rate mode, and it was all over the place. I mean, turning left and right and curling, and luckily I got it down safely. About that time, lawnmower men were approaching, so I had to move to another area of the park. started to wind it up, and it was kind of making a noise. And so I wound it down again, looked at it, checked the engine main gear interface, checked some of the other things, checked the tail. It seemed all right. So this area is a parking lot that transitions, and then there's a grassy area on either side. So I spooled it up, got it airborne. About as soon as I got it airborne, got tail blowout. The thing was pirouetting. So I was able to get it far enough over the grass, brought it down. Luckily, it survived and didn't have any damage, but I looked at it, and it looked like the gears inside the the torque tube tail drive transmission had ate themselves up. So to the point where I could run the tail blades and spin them, and it wouldn't even touch the front gear. So.
Oh wow. Are you? I'm assuming you checked though just to make sure that the tail boom didn't pull out a little bit so that the torque tube could disengage.
We'll look some more, but you could certainly see the hash on both of the gears where they heavily worn each other. So
okay.
Now, a bone to pick with you. I have the metal transmission case with the top cover, and I looked at your video again. You said, "Oh, it's easy. You just pull the top, and you can pull that axle out." Well, the trouble is there's a big main gear stuck in between to get that axle out. So I'm going to have to drop the main gear and the tail drive gear out in order to get that axle out through the top. Because that lower gear, which is wider in the circumference,
goes in between. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll go up, but then it runs into the main gear, and there's no room in that box to get it out sideways. So,
oh, that stinks.
So it's either that or pull the whole tail case out. So.
So the question is, which is easier, to pull the main gear or the tail case?
Yeah.
It might be easier just to work the tail case out just a little bit to get some clearance, because it's got those little does it have little knobs, right, that fit into the carbon fiber frame sides. So just loosen it up enough to slip it out, pull it out, and then stick it back.
Yeah. Now,
main gear should be pretty easy to drop. It's only lower if you drop the lower Jesus bolt out and the collar, the lock collar, and just pop the ball joints off the swash plate and just pull the whole bit, whole head and swash and all the gubbins out with it.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be easier that way. I'm also thinking that I'd kindly narrowed it down to the fact that I'm trying to run 460 blades with 68 tails on that, and I'm running a 10-tooth pinion, so I may not have enough head speed, which is maybe causing me some problems. So I'm thinking maybe at the same time I'll put in either 11 or 12 tooth on that motor to give me a little more head speed and see if that brings the tail into a little bit more control.
Yeah, I know you asked me what I was running on mine. I never did get a chance to look at it.
Well, I looked at your the demo you did on your head speed, and you said you had 11 tooth pinion on that.
Okay. Whatever I had on there, I still have it.
Yeah. So that was number one. This morning I got up, I took the 500 out, got it airborne, and it was flying. All of a sudden it took like a 45-degree dive, and I couldn't tell if it was head first or tail first. But I tried an initial input, it didn't do anything, and it was falling quick, so I hit the hang hold, and it hit sideways on the ground. I think the total on that is main blades, spindle shaft, main gear, and it snapped the landing gear on one side completely away. So landing gear, so that's about the extent of that. You know, ordered a few parts for that I was missing. So all I got left now is my 450. So I've got a blade 450 that I've got that I can play with until I get the others rebuilt.
Well, yeah, you're getting the crash repeat part then out of the way, huh?
I've got a bunch of building.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stinks. It still confuses me about your 480 tail. Head speed, I mean, I'm guessing no tail authority could be low head speed, right? And then when you're in rate mode, I still double check that your offset for your default pitch at center is facing the right direction. But you said when you are in rate mode, it will pirouette either left or right, or does it always go one direction?
No, it would kind of sway like it was being blown in the breeze everywhere. It was kind of erratic and going from side to side.
So that sounds like too low of the gain.
Yeah, that's gain problem.
That could be mechanical gain rather than electronic gain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by mechanical gain, Abe?
So, well, there's three things to how much gain there is of the system as a whole. You've got the electronic gain, which is how far it moves the servo. And then you've got the aerodynamic gain, which is how fast the tail is running, i.e. how much head speed you've got. And then you've got the mechanical gain, which is basically how for every sort of 10 degrees of servo travel, how much actual pitch change you get on the back end. Basically, it's how long the tail servo horn is. If you find yourself having to run lots and lots of electronic gain, the chances are that your servo horn's too short. And that does sound like there's just not enough coming through from the gyro to make the thing do what it is. So you're winding the electronic gain up to try and make it do something, and nothing's happening because the servo horn's too short, and it's not actually giving it enough tail pitch. That makes sense?
Yep. When you stretch out a helicopter and put bigger main rotor blades on it, don't you have to also increase the size of the tail rotor blades to compensate for that extra torque you're getting from the main?
It depends on how big the tail rotor blades were initially.
Okay.
If it was already running quite large tail blades, then no. But if you're kind of stretching out say a 450 up to sort of 480 blades or 500 mil blades or something like that, then and you're only running like 70 mil tail blades on it, then yes, they won't be big enough. But it's one of those things that you kind of have to kind of judge and go, right. If you learn from experience sort of what it probably is. But what gyro are you running on it?
The Robird flybar system, G31.
So, Chris, how much electronic gain are you running on your? Because you've got Robird on yours as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and I'm not running a whole lot. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I'm probably. First of all, I don't run in rate mode at all. It's always heading hold, but I'm running I think somewhere in the 60 to 70 range, if I remember correctly.
That sounds like quite a lot to me.
No, not for the Robird. It's from so 50 is below 50 is rate, above 50 is heading hold.
Mm-hmm.
So you're limited to that half of the range.
And what I had in the heading hold is I started at the 50 mark in the heading hold, and I would get the tail wag slow but a large oscillation either side. And I continually increased it to 100%, which is full heading hold, and it would shimmy less but more frequent. But it was more closer, like if I had another 20%, I'd probably be able to take all that wiggle out.
Yeah.
And that's where I was at.
Go out a hole on the servo horn and then readjust your limits to that'll probably fix that. That sounds like a low mechanical gain problem.
Trouble is, I was getting binding when I was putting it farther out in the horn.
Yeah, if you go, but you have to reset up there'll be limit values in the gyro. I don't know the Robird. Chris, is there?
Yeah.
There are.
He knows how to do that.
There are, and I've got those fairly low, so that's where I'm kind of stuck in a corner, which means I may try a variation of blades, both main blades and tail blades, because Chris is running 345s and 61 or 62 in the tail. I'm running 360s with 68s in the rear. But I'm running
I'm actually running, and Rod, just as to your point, I'm running stock tail blades even with a little bit of a stretch, and I find it still has fairly decent tail authority. But the difference between 345s and what are you running, 60s?
I'm running 360s, but a stock would be about 325 on a 450.
Right.
I know some of the 450 stretch kits also have extended tail grip holders.
Yeah, I use a standard fly barless head and just put longer 345 blades and left the tail the same.
Your tail limit values, are they similar to each other? So the left and the right values, are they about the same?
I think they're fairly close. I think they're within 10% of each other.
Yeah, sounds okay. Is that what you've got, Chris? Same?
What's that?
Your tail limit values on the Raybird.
Yeah, well, mine are the same, but because I made them the same, so what I do is figure out where the shortest side of the travel is on the slider. So whichever one's going to bind first, that's the one I use to set my limit, and then I make the other one travel the same amount, so my tail authority is the same in either direction, instead of having one that goes further than the other side.
Rather than maxing them out.
Yeah. So mine are the same because of that.
So do you know what your tail limit values are on yours?
Not offhand.
Chris, do you know what your? Because that would be a.
Yeah, the problem is I'd have to go fire up the heli and put it on a computer to figure it out.
That's something worth looking at, both of you. You can compare. I mean, it's quite useful to have two similar models, almost the same, exactly the same, with the same bits and pieces on it, because then one works and one doesn't.
Yeah, I think we did compare those, didn't we?
Well, yeah, that's why I was asking for your setup, and I may try some blade switch out and pinion switch out to put them kind of on the same plane and then work from there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've been, Aid, you're right on. We've been kind of chatting on email and sharing pictures and I think a little bit of videos back and forth. So it's close, but
what tail servos are you both using?
I'm using a KST 515, DS515.
I swapped mine out. I went from a 6 volt down to a 4.5 to 6 volt because I wasn't
dedicated tail servo once it's on.
Yeah.
I'd go out servo horn and redo your limits and see if that works.
Also, make sure that it's absolute butter smooth mechanically as well. There's no binding anywhere.
Yeah, right. 3-in-1 oil on the tail shaft, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's about
cool.
Yeah, funny one.
All
without.
Right.
Sorry.
Let's move down the line. Let's hit Lee. What are you up to?
Wow.
Not flying, not working, and watching TV?
No, I have been flying, and as you probably all heard, I crashed. Way! For the first time in 2 years.
Hey, it's not so.
Seriously, that's the first time in 2 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
you fly hard too, so that's pretty impressive.
You're overdue.
It was a complete and utter dumb thumb as well. So I wasn't even doing anything. I was just hovering around. Probably wasn't concentrating, and just flipped over to normal side up, and just gave it full negative and slammed it into the deck. But
which helicopter?
570 with a GoPro hanging off it.
It was on the warp, and I mean it came down full negative. And all that broke was the skids, the tail fin, and the blades. That's it. And so I've got everything replaced except the blades. And it's absolutely bulletproof, this helicopter.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't even touch the boom, didn't bend the boom. I couldn't believe it. It left a hole in the ground, and all it did was break the blades.
Don't try that with a Goblin.
No, I was really happy that I didn't do that on the Goblin. So yes, I've got the blade. I've bought some Taro 360mm blades, which $19 from a shop in China. So I've heard they're pretty good. So and they look exactly the same as the Compass ones anyway. So give them a try. I got the speed controllers for the quadcopter yesterday. As we've been talking about, the speed controllers I had before not working properly. I didn't have any money to get any new ones, so it's just been sitting on the shelf. And then just happened to be talking to my dad, and he was asking me about it. And he said, "How much are they?" So I told him. He said, "Oh yeah, I didn't buy you a birthday present, so get some." So
Nice.
so that was a nice. So I've just put them in today. And,
Will your dad adopt me?
So these are the speed controllers that actually belong with the motors. So I'm hoping that everything should run perfectly smooth. So I've also got two flight control boards on there. I've got the KK2 and the Open Pilot. So I can jump between the two and see which one I like the best.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's that. The Goblin, I don't know if you saw, I put a couple of videos up where I attached my GoPro to the side of the frame.
Yeah, I've been watching this.
One video forwards, one video towards the tail. I was really happy with the way it came out. There's no vibration at all, really. And it was just stuck on the side with the normal GoPro mount. Seemed to have the least vibration by just using the normal GoPro mount rather than trying to stick it to something else. So yeah, it came out really well. So this is the only one that's flying at the moment. And I've been helping a friend who's just bought a plane. He's got an AXN, but we don't have a buddy box, so I've basically been giving him the controller, and then when he feels out of control, he just gives it back to me. But he tends to wait till the very last second and just says, "Here, take it." And by that time, it's about a foot off the ground. And he actually put it in the other day and broke the tail off it. So we have to sort it. What I was going to do was actually I've got a spare Open Pilot flight control board, which has airplane modes as well. So I'm going to experiment by putting one of those on his plane and see if we can get it all stabilized and make it a bit easier for him.
That seems to work really well. I've seen a lot of people doing that.
Yeah. Because I mean, we can't do buddy box because he's on Turnigy radio and I'm on Spectrum. So
you can't take the PPM signal out of the Turnigy and import it straight into the Spectrum.
Don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me if you can't.
With the DX9, you might be able to do it wirelessly.
Yeah, it's not a DX9, I have a DX8.
Oh, scratch that idea.
Yeah.
Depending on if the channel sequence is the same, you should be able to do it. But there's I'm not that familiar with the DX8. On the JR radios, which are pretty similar, there's two modes of doing the buddy box. You can feed through the 4 channels from the buddy from the trainee transmitter. Just take the 4 main controls through to the model, and then your transmitter, the main transmitter, does all the work. So it does all the CCPM mixing and all that sort of stuff. As long as the channel sequence in the PPM stream is the same, so channel 1 is throttle and channel 2 is I can't remember what it is on Spectrum. As long as they're the same across the 2 models, then you should be okay. with a little bit of dicking around, you may be able to get it working.
But I will admit, it's probably more fun to catch the transmitter and then try and take over.
No, it's not.
The problem for him that he's finding is that he needs to fly it high to be able to be safe, but as soon as he flies it high, he can't see the model well enough to be able to see the orientation.
Yeah,
That's what Chad Carlin, I don't know if you guys saw, he recently crashed his 700, and my comment to him was, you should have been at least one mistake higher, and you'd been fine. Just one mistake. So tell your friend to fly one mistake higher. All right, let's hit Rifted.
Hey guys, all right. So I haven't been able to fly much right now because the weather. It's been a constant rain down here. It's been awful and cold. But apparently this Sunday I'm going to be able to catch a little bit of a flight. Some relatives are coming from north, so I'm going to be able to go and have a good excuse and fly some. And also, I'm getting ready to go to Flight Fest. So if anybody of you are going to go, I'll gladly going to meet you up there. What else?
I wish I could go to Flight Fest.
Yeah. So already paid for the plane, already make the reservation for the car, and well, just waiting for the day to arrive. I'm going to be up there for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be real cool. So I'm planning on taking my little 250, a couple of batteries, and my radio. So if anybody have any suggestions on how to bring to the plane LiPo batteries, I don't want to be in the no-fly list from FAA. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately, getting ready.
Nice.
Just put your lipos in a lipo safe bag and keep them in your hand luggage.
Yeah, that's what I was planning to have them on my backpack. And whenever there's an X-ray machine, I just take them out as a laptop so they can scan them. And if they ask, just answer questions nicely and calm.
Yeah, the bad thing about those is they look a lot suspicious because they have several wires hanging out and they're a big brick of electronics.
And plus add them to a radio next to them. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit like explaining. So what I've read so far is to have a couple of RC magazines in your backpack. Also, I've been waiting for my MAA subscription, so I hope they have it ready for next week. So if they have any questions, I can give that number also that subscribe, and I'm not on the blacklist of any kind. So I'm a sort of responsible flyer. And what else? A couple of observations with the body box. If your friend also flies with a JR or a Spectrum or something like that.
No, he's got a Turnigy 9XR or whatever it is.
I think that's going to be the master. So I think if you plug, if you go, I don't know, in Spain, if you have any kind of a Radio Shack or something like that, and try to pick up a cable, a mono cable for 3.5 jack.
Yeah, I think I've already got one from one of my simulators.
Okay, so you can try to use one of those, but open a new memory on the second radio and set it up as an airplane, as a plain airplane, and just make sure that it's turned off. That's the basic 101. Make sure that it's off, and whenever you make the trainer switch go up or left or whatever, that there's no twitching servos or every single one of the surfaces move as the secondary and the main and the master works the same. But they should work. The Trinity using as a slave the Spectrum. It should work.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think the default is to use the higher quality or the master's person's radio as the master. But yeah, I think with either OpenTX or ER9X, whatever he's running on the Turnigy, should be able to pretty easily take whatever signal comes out of the Spectrum.
And also, if you have one of those cheap radios, the ones that have only 4 or 5 channels.
Oh, you're talking about
you can try
receivers?
them. Yeah, you can try one of those transmitters that used to come with the E-Flight and all those cheap radios. You can also try it. Well, obviously, if it has a trainer switch, otherwise it's not going to work. But you can try one of those also, as used as a slave.
So if he's using the Turnigy 9XR as the master, so that means he's in charge of the trainer switch.
You'd have to switch radios.
Yeah, you give him your radio and
Exactly.
and you have his radio, and obviously, otherwise, yeah, that would be quite funny. It's like he gets into trouble and goes, "It's yours," and you're not ready.
Or you could actually here's the solution. Think about this. You could set his up as the master, but because you've got control over all the switches, you have it reversed so when he's got the switch pulled, then it would be in master mode, the same,
Don't
the
do
opposite.
that. Just trade radios.
You have to force him to let go of it when he's in trouble, and then you
Just trade radios.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of
Use
buddy
the
boxing in the past.
Don't make it harder than it is.
Yeah, I've done a lot of buddy boxing in the past on helicopters, and it's a lot of people shy away from it because it's a helicopter. They're quite happy to buddy box a plane, but they won't buddy box a helicopter. And as long as you're paying attention, and what I used to do is you fly the model yourself, even though you've got the trainer switch pulled. So you're watching the model as if you were flying it. So that way, and moving the sticks around, because then you're watching what the model is doing, and you know what the model is doing in terms of orientation. So when it starts doing something strange, and with a bit of practice, you'll know when they're losing it, because you'll see the model will start doing something a bit kind of like a bit strange. It will start going sideways, or it'll start losing height fairly quickly, and within like a quarter of a second you'll go, I know that he hasn't got this, and you'll just let go of the trainer, and you'll be actually kind of like hanging on to the trainer switch, going, go on, catch it. No, you're gonna catch it? No, okay, well, I'll take that then. And it won't be kind of like, oh shit, I need to catch this now. It'll be like you'll be just waiting for him to try and recover it and fail, and then you'll let go of the trainer switch.
The operative part being letting go of the trainer switch, as I learned recently.
Just remember that.
I kind of caught the end of that because obviously I was putting the turbine back.
Yeah, so I was talking about how I was training my son on the Sensei, and I was the master, he was a student, and he was doing really good. So I started giving him a little bit more room. So when he wasn't quite comfortable, I was letting him try and fly out of it, and he got into a situation where he lost orientation, and I was going to let him fly out of it, and he wasn't able to do it, so I started controlling and taking control, except I forgot to let go of the trainer switch, so my stick movements weren't doing any good, and it took me a second to realize I forgot to let go of the switch, but by then it was too late to recover. Yeah. So instinct first is let go of switch, which I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah, the when you're buddy boxing, a very key thing is to inform the bloke that you're training that he must make every attempt to try and recover it. Because what you don't want to do, want them to get into the habit of, is I don't have this. I've given up.
It's yours. Take it.
Yours, take it off me. And
Yeah, save my plane. Save it.
yeah, save it.
That's,
Yes.
that's basically what my friend did. He just said, "Here, take it."
Yeah.
But it was a bit too
Yeah,
late.
so we practice that on switching the switcher.
So you definitely want to sort of say to him, no, right, I'm going to take this. I'm going to stop it from crashing. That's all I'm going to do. And I might and talk to him as well, and sort of and say, a bit of left or a bit of right, or a bit more collective, and just sort of give him this sort of feed of little nudges in the right general direction.
Yeah, I was doing that. He was turning right, and he kept turning right. So I just said, left, left,
Yeah.
the other left.
Yes. Oh!
Yeah.
Just yes, more and more urgent sounding. That stick on the right, push it left some more.
You could always do the hand over method. Maybe you guys are really good friends and you can just wrap around him and take control.
And take video.
Well, I wanted to just hold the throttle stick, so I'd hold the radio in my hand with the throttle stick and just give him control of the elevator and aileron. But and then if I did see it going wrong, I could just take it back from him. But he didn't like that. He wanted to hold on to the whole radio, so he crashed.
One of the things you can do on the JRs, well, as far as I'm aware, you can do it on all radios with the trainer switch, is you can choose what channels you're going to give him. And what I used to do with total noobs was just give them the aileron.
Yeah.
So I'd take off and hover it, because that then means you've got height control. And you just never let it get beyond about 45 degrees of bank. And it's quite entertaining sort of watching this sort of model sort of flying left and right up and down the flight line. And you're still three-quarter flying it for them. And just giving them the aileron control, and then you build up from there. So you go give them the aileron and the elevator, and then by the time they've got the hang of that, you can pretty much give them everything.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, real quick, I'm gonna hit the QA because we had a question that I want to make sure we answer, and I know Dodo, you already answered it on the QA for the guy, but this is Darren Drennan. And he's got a question, and he actually, I think he answered his own question, but let's confirm with him that he's on the right track. It says, hey guys, a noob question for you. I just made my new T-Rex 500E flybar copter yesterday, and it flew good, but the tail has a wag, not a side-to-side like a gyro problem, but it goes up and down. And then his first question is, low head speed or swash problem? Thanks. And I'm thinking it's low head speed just from that description.
Yeah, definitely low head speed.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, there you go, Darren. Low head speed. Try and pump it up, see if that helps. See, this is so easy when you answer your own questions. All right, Raj.
Howdy. Been pretty busy last couple of weeks. I was actually flying the N7 with a borrowed controller. I had a V-bar on it. One of the guys at the field loaned that to me while I was waiting for the Skookum to come in. And on Tuesday, the Skookum finally came in. So since then, I've been in the process of removing the V-bar and putting the Skookum back into the helicopter and going through the setup procedure. And I actually hovered it this afternoon for about a quarter of a tank, and it was doing okay. I had a little bit of a drift, but drifted left a little bit, and I think the procedure with Skookum to fix the drift is to adjust the mechanical linkage on the swash between the swash and the servo to take any drift out. So I'll be doing that in the morning and trying to hover again with it and see how it does. kind of made a mistake when I bought the Skookum because I'm the only guy at the field that's got one, so there's no real help from anybody. If I would have bought a V-bar or a Beast X for this machine, there's all kinds of help there. But being the first kid on the block with a new device, the learning curve is pretty steep. So I've been conversing with a guy in the UK, and he's been helping me. And
you can't trust those guys in the UK.
Well, yeah, you can. they know what they're doing most of them. So hopefully on Sunday we'll be able to get this thing out to the field and run it with everything but the governor. I'm still waiting to get a drop-down regulator to put in line with my governor lead. Skookum specifically states that don't hook it up to anything over 5.5 volts, and I'm running my electronics with a 2S LiPo, so I don't want to burn up my my governor sensor, my RPM sensor. So
is there any headroom there? I mean, because that's 7.4 nominal with the 2S. Is that?
That's too high.
Okay.
That's too high. So I bought a Futaba inline voltage regulator that drops it down to 5. So that's due in the mail on Tuesday from A-Main.
How many amps can that handle? I looked at one point a voltage regulator from Spectrum, but then I did some looking at it, and it was really minimal, like amperage. It made me concerned.
This particular one is more or less for just one servo, so I think it's about 1.5 amps, 2 amps, something like that.
But you're just going to put it on the one servo then?
Yeah, this is just for the flybar or for the RPM sensor. So there should be no current load there at all.
I was thinking about getting one for my 550. I was going to put on the same thing, a 2S battery, and then use it as a flight pack. But the voltage was higher than what I felt comfortable with some of my non-high voltage servos. So
if you're going to run a 2S LiPo for a flight pack, you have to have high voltage servos. If you don't, they'll work for a while, but then they'll croak. And
so that's the point. I was looking for a step down. The Spectrum has a step down to 5 volts. I thought that'd work, but when I looked at it, it was like 1 or 2 amps max. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great for one servo, but not for 4.
Right.
So I ditched that idea and went with a NiCad battery for a flight pack.
What's the voltage out of that?
A BEC on the speed controller.
What's that?
Have you not got a BEC on the speed controller?
Oh yeah. I've got a Castle ICE 90 with a 20 amp BEC.
What's the BEC voltage?
5.5, I think.
Well, is it a Castle? Is it the BEC in the Castle?
Yeah.
Well, that should be adjustable to whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, but the point was I wanted to use a battery and not the BEC.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I bought a flight.
Yeah, okay. don't. There's 3 things you can do. Right. Firstly, you can just get yourself a life pack, LIFE or Eneloop or something like that. No, not a life. Yeah, Eneloop. Just a little 800 milliamp, and run it in parallel with the BEC. That's the lightest way of doing it, really. And what that means is that if the BEC ever dies, it will just run off the flight pack. But it means it's very, very low maintenance. Self charges. I did a little video and wrote it about it a while back. It's,
do you have to diode auctioneer it to make sure it switches over properly?
No. You just plug it in because the voltage.
You just put them together.
Yeah, just the voltage isn't high enough to cause the pack any. It'll just trickle charge it effectively.
Oh, okay.
And it should never, as long as the BEC is running, it would never run directly off that pack. But if there's ever an interruption or a high resistance or anything like that, it'll automatically just pull a little bit of power off the battery, and then the BEC will carry on charging it.
Okay.
So will that work with a NiCad battery pack?
Possibly yes, but all the stuff I've seen, they've been all using Eneloop or the instant or the same sort of technology as the Eneloop.
I think you'd have to have the voltages fairly close together, right?
I've seen people using 6 volts on them.
Okay.
On a 4.8 volt Eneloop pack.
Okay.
But if you're running
Eneloop pack's basically just the rechargeable AA's or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, AAA nickel metal hydride. I was looking at running one of those on my X5, but then I got a really, really good price on a Scorpion backup guard.
Oh, well, that's the way to go there.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah.
If you remember to switch it on.
Yeah, I forgot to switch mine on today.
Oh, that's not the one that automatically turns on?
No, that's the OptiGuard, which are about twice as expensive.
Okay. I've got expensive taste. I just can't afford any of it.
Yeah, not OptiGuard. It's the OptiPower thing.
OptiPower, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Okay. While I had the V-bar on the N7, that thing is sweet. It is very, very nice. I had a ball flying that thing. I'm almost 2 gallons through it now, and it is a lot of fun to fly. And it just has gobs of power, just gobs of power. And I'm actually improving my confidence level with every flight. And I was able to pull off some loops, some rolls, some Cuban 8s, some very steep and high stall turns, and let it come screaming down out of the sky and zoom it out at the bottom, which was a whole lot of fun.
Nice.
I was able to do that with both the N7 and my Goblin. So I've been having a real good time at the flying field. So now I have to get the Skookum running on the N7 and get back to the same level that I was with the V-bar. So keep your fingers crossed, and God willing, the creek don't rise. We'll get out to the field on Sunday and have a good day. We can't fly tomorrow because NASCAR's in town. And when NASCAR comes to town, the interference levels over at our field just skyrocket. And we've had some unexplained crashes over there on previous NASCAR weekends. So we voluntarily closed the field now for when the race cars are in town.
That sounds like a smart thing.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy lose a Goblin. Another guy lost a big one of those big 3D stunt planes. The huge, giant scale that they do 3D with. We lost one of those on a race weekend, and we just decided it was beneficial to, cut our losses and just, skip a couple of days flying.
What's the distance from the track to your field?
About 1.5 miles. It's real close. And they put up the helicopter with the video transmitters that they sell the in cockpit stuff that it beams the signal up to the helicopter and then back over to the video truck. And we think that those links are what's clobbering us, but we're just not going to take any more chances on it. We're just going to not fly.
So I'm surprised that causes you issues. I mean, that's sort of in this side of the Atlantic, there's sort of rules and regulations over what they call CE compliance, and what it basically says is that your piece of equipment should not interfere with and should not be interfered with other things. So it shouldn't be susceptible, and it shouldn't radiate too much noise either.
Yeah, well, you know, we had these unexplained crashes, so we're erring on the side of safety and wallets, and we're just not going to fly. It's just that simple. So, you know, we're doing it voluntarily, so it's not a big deal. There's a whole lot of other places that we could go if we wanted to fly. So, but they're going to be gone after tomorrow night, so everything will be cool. And my other good news is on Monday I got my copy of AccuRC.
Oh, cool.
So been playing with that a little bit, trying to learn about it. In the one of the things that I've noticed is that the screen for me is very hard to read. When I'm in the workshop and I'm trying to select different servos and that kind of stuff, the green lettering on the black background just kind of fades away. Now that could be because I'm an old fart and just have bad eyes, but it's just an observation that I have noticed with it.
What screen resolution are you running?
Well, I'm running it on my wife's laptop because our desktop took a dump in the storm here we had a couple of weeks ago. So it's just a Sony Vaio laptop that I'm running it at. I think it's 1024 by 960, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, the display is sharp and crisp. It's just that the lettering for me was a poor choice of color.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The other thing is what's in the graphic settings where it says the screen resolution. There is also an anti-alias setting, AA.
Okay.
I think the default is 0 for some reason. I don't know why they defaulted it to 0, but you want to set that to 8. Try that at 8. See if the machine handles it.
Okay.
What that does is it makes the lines smoother and stuff, so it might make the text a bit easier to read.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's a matter of smoothness, Adrian. I think it's just contrast.
Right. Got you.
Okay. But to me, that's the problem.
Right.
You know, when I was working, one of the things that one of my jobs that I had years and years ago was we were putting in a graphics system into the control rooms of a couple of our nuke plants, and we were trying to figure out what was going to be the best color to put text on, and it turned out that the best color that we could come up with was magenta. You know, everybody can read magenta, no matter what background it seems to be on. Magenta, just boom, there it is. You can read it, and it reads easy. So.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing that I've noticed with it, and maybe this is still just setup issues that I'm having with getting the model configured properly, is I was working with the T-Rex 700 Nitro flybarless, and I put it in sport mode, and when I go inverted doing a loop, it tends to just fall from the sky.
Yeah,
there's not enough negative pitch to make it fly.
Yeah, the sport mode is just literally for sort of hovering and circuits and that sort of thing.
Okay.
You just knock it up to the next setting up, and you'll probably find that in a bit.
Okay. Well, I took it all the way to, I think it was expert. That's the second one up. I had more, but I didn't seem to have as much as what I had have on my Phoenix simulator. So
if you have a look at the pitch range that you'll get, hang on, let me have a look myself actually. The T-Rex 700, isn't it? You said.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So, Chris, have you played with the bit of software I sent you the other day?
Yeah, I did a little bit of poking around in my free time. The downside is the Windows machine is my video editing machine, so it's a timeshare problem. But definitely very interesting playing around with the individual settings on the heli, and I could even get to the flying field, but that's as far as I could get. I was really impressed with the graphics actually at the field. Very realistic flying field graphics.
Yeah, it's a lot of people reckon it's not much of a step up in graphics, and I don't think it is either. But then I run like a 32-inch screen at 1080p anyway, so it kind of there isn't much of a change there for me. But it's the physics that do it for me as far as I'm concerned. Hang on.
Yeah, without a dongle, that's the one thing obviously I can't play with.
On the virtual transmitter, are there any plans to set it up so that the idle up switches and the throttle hold switches transfer from your radio to the virtual transmitter and then to the model?
It's something I've been talking to Ash a little bit about, because obviously hang on, I'm trying to multitask here and failing miserably. Where's that lead going? What is going on with it? It's because the transmitter doesn't actually tell the simulator what flight mode it's in. The only way, because if you think about a normal flybarred model, it doesn't. The only way that you know that the model knows it's in idle up is it doesn't. It just looks at the throttle position, and
right.
You pull the collective stick back, and the throttle doesn't go to 0, so it carries on going. So there isn't actually the simulator doesn't know. There is no way of really telling it what flight mode it's in.
Okay.
But one of the things the Spartan Vortex does is that you set up an auxiliary channel that correlates to your idle up and throttle hold switches, and it changes the position of that channel to push that to. So then the gyro knows where the switches are, and that's one of the things that Ash is looking to implement. Right, let's have a look at how much pitch range I've got here on. I mean, I should screen share this, really, shouldn't I? Oh, I don't know if I can screen share this actually. Can I? 2 seconds. Right, so in sport mode, yeah, -5.
Oh, no wonder it fell from the sky.
Right. Hang on, I'm just going to see if I can screen share this because it would make a lot more sense if I can.
Okay.
I'm just
what screen did you go into to actually see what the pitch range was?
If you click on the blades and select blades, there's a toggle to switch on the pitch gauge.
Okay. It's I'm loading it up now.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's see if I can. Now. Right. Okay. Should be able to screen share. There we go. Try that.
Now, do you get the same behavior with the wireless setup as what you do with the hardwired?
I don't personally run the wireless. I've got an old JR9X that has I've got a mains adapter for it and stuff like that I used to use for training. So I don't, as far as I'm aware, yes, it all performs the same.
Okay.
Hang on, right, let's just finish that off. yeah, if you go up to the next one up. Oh, all that screen share stuff's broken. 2 seconds.
You guys might end up needing to take this offline. It sounds like it's going to be quite a discussion.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
We're getting close to the top of the hour, so I want to give a chance to see what Dodo's up to.
Okay.
And then we got a question to answer for Clay. So, what's up, buddy?
I suppose I haven't been up to a lot lately, although I have like little bits of news. I joined a club as well.
All right, cool.
But my club is actually, I had to kind of because I want to do a competition in August. So I had to be in a club to go to this competition. So I'm official now, like yourself.
Nice.
Have insurance, and the club's like an hour and a half away. It's a really nice club, and there's like all heli people, and it looks awesome. But I don't think I'll be able to get there a lot, to be honest, especially with my energy problems. But yeah, so I was having trouble tuning my X5's tail actually as well. I never got the last, 10%, 5 or 10% out of that tail, after kind of upgrading to longer blades because of blowouts and things like that. And I think I have too low mechanical gain as well. But just have to get to bigger fields to test that out now. And had my 360 millimeter 450 as my backup bird for this competition, and I said, "Oh, let's be gentle with it until then." And of course, I crashed it, which you can see if you Google, or sorry, if you go on YouTube and search "flying dodo." That's my last video, I think. What else? Yeah, I think I flew the 450. The 325 millimeter today, and did some crazy stuff. It's mad when you get back from flying a bigger helicopter to flying the small ones. You just feel like you can throw them whichever way you want across the sky, and you're not too worried about them crashing. So I was like, got some over speeds done really fast towards the ground, and did a few autos with that, which actually didn't break anything, surprisingly. So yeah, I had some good fun with that today.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When you say you're having with the X5 tail, what's it doing?
Yeah, I moved up from the stock blades are 82s, and I moved up to the Edge 86s. And I thought before I had moved out a hole on for the ball on the tail arm, but I couldn't get it to wag basically. At 100, it's on V bar, so it was like up to 100, 120. And where I left off, it was getting up to like 115, 120, and it was barely wagging. It wasn't a consistent wag, so I think that was actually just slop in the bushing. That might have been causing that. What ways do you have of checking the tail gain real quick?
On the V bar, I don't know what the clues are for the V bar. Different gyros will have different sort of tendencies. Like for instance, sort of on the Spartan, I go by the stop gains. On the stops, and what it's like in a backwards hurricane, basically. If it's and also forward flight. The first check is just to jab the stick around left and right and just see what it stops like. If it's if it sort of feels okay there, then I'll push it out to a big loop. I've found that if the gain is a bit high, it will get into a bit of a wag in fast forward flight. And also, if the gain's a bit low, the tail will feel a bit soft and squishy in a backwards hurricane. So when you're going backwards, it won't blow out, but the response from the stick will feel soft, kind of like it's trying to blow out, and you're trying to bring it back in again, and it feels like you're having to use too much stick to get it back. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
How much? What are the limit values in the V-bar?
They're back down. I couldn't even tell you now if I've actually flown them since I've changed it. They're back down to like between 100 and 110, and they're like even, like Chris said, you make them like that. They're pretty even. Like
one thing I
remember you saying before that like if you bend the tail blades, they should be like almost 45, but they're kind of like they weren't given enough. So I did the 450 tail trick of kind of lengthening the hole on the tail shaft. I brought it out a bit, drilled new holes for the grub screw, just to give it a little bit extra throw.
You shouldn't need to do that. Just use a longer servo horn. What I had to do on mine to get the values equal was to offset the servo horn a little bit, because if you set it all 90 degrees, so when the servo is 90 degrees to the push rod at the front, to give you the hover pitch at the back, so when you cross them, they're just a little bit, they're like there somewhere, just a little bit of right pitch. So effectively, it will hover in normal mode. I then found that I had very little very low right value, right limit, and a very high left limit. So then, by offsetting the servo, it then equalises those things out because of the way the differential works. And then you can make sure you're using the full width of the tail output shaft.
Yeah. I've heard other people saying they do tail slides to test for a wag, like instead of backwards hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean anything to get the thing going quickly, really.
I just have to get out to the field again and do some more hurricanes, I think. And if it feels squishy, that's what I was doing last time, I suspect, because I thought I might have too low deep EID eye gain for a while, because it kind of when I flew fast backwards, the stops were squishy. But it's still like it flies good, but I'm just afraid to push it in case it blows out again.
The one thing I've been struggling with is, especially since changing to the motor, is that the governor in the GAWI speed controller is rubbish. And in the hobby you can hear it pulsing the motor slightly, and that's then upsetting the tail.
I'm using
it sits there doing this slightly. It's just a tiny little shimmy in the tail. And it's upsetting the gyro. And I switched the governor off, and it's fine.
Is that Sorry, did you say you're using the GAWI ESCs?
Yeah, the GAWI. It's actually a hobby wing speed controller, but it's the one that comes with the X5 combo.
Yeah, I'm using the V-bar governor.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, Vortex doesn't have an eGov on it at the moment, and it's really annoying. You try switching the governor off and running it on curves as well, because that's sort of something it can. I tend to switch governors off when I'm pissing around with tails, because otherwise it's just they can be really. It can be giving you problems that you haven't actually got?
I think I've lowered the governor gain to 10, but I could try switching it off as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I tried even like starting from no pre-comp, and still kind of does the same things, really.
Mm. Yeah, the tail on the X5 does seem to be a little bit finicky. It took a bit of messing around to get it to perform nicely.
Apparently, there's like a really crap ratio, like from head to tail speed. So there's not enough tail speed ever. So people have been swapping out the tail torque tube gear for something else with one tooth extra.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember what model that was now, but
yeah, it is quite a short ratio actually.
yeah, I keep the head speed high now. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm running like 2.8 or something ridiculous.
Right.
Get it humming.
All right, guys. Well, we're a little past the top of the hour, so you know I'm always trying to keep us on a time schedule. Real quick, I do want to give an update on the hats and shirts. I know you guys offline, and we've had some discussion last time. I'm getting ready to actually start having some hats made up. I did the first run hat, and I liked it, but I wanted a different actual like brand of hat. So I found one. This is a hat. This is a flex fit hat, the Yupong flex fit, and I have another hat that is this same style that I like, and so I had to find a manufacturer or a vendor that had this particular hat, because the other hat I got was a nice hat, but it was kind of heavy and thick, and I kind of like lighter weight ball caps, especially in the summertime. So I really like this Yupong flex fit. So I found somebody to buy those from. So the hats that I'm going to be selling, if anybody wants any, will have the Fly logo. Instead of CPO, it says Fly. And then on the back, which right now this one says everythingcpo.com with everything.com blacked out. The back is going to say build, fly, crash, repeat across the back. And then I might find a way to put like everything CPO somewhere hidden on the side just to get it in there. But it'll basically be a build, fly, crash, repeat hat with fly on the front. And I'm trying to figure out how cheap I can get them made, but I'll know more on that here pretty soon. I'm working on trying to get as good of a deal as I can. The problem is it requires me to spend a significant investment up front to do it in quantity. And I don't know how many people actually would want a hat if I did them, so there's a little bit of risk there. So if you are wanting one, it would be nice to know so I can feel comfortable taking the risk to have some made. I figured I can try and get some and take them to IRCHA. I'll be hanging out with Andy at the CPO Heli Tools booth, running that with him at IRCHA, so I'll have a place where I could probably stack some hats and shirts and stuff. But anyway, if you are interested, let me know. If you're watching this, in the next couple days or so, let me know. But I think I'm going to have some of these made in black. This is the other cool thing about the Flex Fit is they only come in two sizes: small, medium, and then large, extra large. This is the large, extra large, which is just a little on the big side for me, especially if I leave it as a flat. I kind of like a flatter brim, but it's pretty easy to figure out your size because there's only two sizes, and pretty much almost everybody will get this large, extra large size anyway. So that makes it easy, as opposed to hats that have small, medium, large, extra large, and it's a pain in the butt. So anyway, the official CPO fly cap is what I'm calling this. The other thing is shirts, which I'm getting ready to do as well. I've had a couple people actually ask me about shirts. So I'm going to do shirts, and let me screen share. I'll show you what the shirt design looks like. Come on. This is the shirt. The only difference is, I don't know if you can see this. Everybody see this okay?
Yep.
Okay. This front logo says CPO. The actual version will say Fly. It won't say CPO because I have everything CPO on the back. But it's basically build, fly, crash, repeat. I'm living that right now. I'm trying to instill that in my son that it's okay to crash. That's part of the hobby. So part of this is me reinforcing that that this is actually what it's about, and so I'm hoping that that I can also use this to help fund some of my IRCHA trip because he and we're going to do a father-son week at IRCHA. We're going to spend the entire week out there.
That's cool.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm planning right now on just doing white T-shirts. I may offer them in long sleeve and short sleeve, but I think summertime white would probably be nicer. If somebody really wants to try and convince me to do some black ones, I can do some black with white text. Pretty easy. But I'm trying to keep it simple and low cost because I think it's ridiculous to spend 30 or 40 bucks on a shirt. So I'm hoping to do it in the 20s range, low 20s. So that is the update, and as soon as I know exactly more, like exactly the cost and whatever, I will share that. But right now I'm thinking in the low to mid 30s for a hat and low 20s, like 22 bucks or something for a shirt after I get done having them made up. Again, the risk for me is, I want one, but, they're much more expensive if I do them one at a time. If I do 20 at once, then I get a better deal. So I may try and find a way to see if I can get some commitment, if people really want to buy, to like pre-order them, and then once I get enough, then I'll go have them made up. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that just yet, though. But that's the status on shirts and hats. So
Do you have a PayPal account?
I do, yeah. Yeah, so I can, I'll be able to do PayPal payments, or I also found a site that I may be able to use, which will have you pay directly to the site, and then they'll ship it directly to you, so I don't have to deal with getting them all and then reshipping them, which will save us both money because I'd have to pay shipping twice if I did it that way.
Yep.
So I found a place that is kind of for like fundraiser type stuff where you sign up there, give them your shirt size, pay the money, and then they'll just send them directly to you. So I might use that service. I think that might be the easiest way for the shirts.
Do they ship international?
I don't know. That's a good question. If they don't, I will. Obviously it's going to cost a little bit more, but if there are any international people who want one, I'll just order them for myself, have them sent to me, and then I'll turn around and reship them out. But I'll check with them and see if they do international shipping. I don't think it's part of that campaign they do, but we can figure it out. So my hat size, just for reference, is I normally wear about a 7 1/8-ish, somewhere in that range, and that's, I think, the low end of this particular hat. Actually, if I bend the brim, it's a pretty comfy fitting hat for me. So this is the large. So if you're wearing like a 7 or smaller, you might get away with a small medium. So if that helps. Anyway, that's the update on that. Like I said, I've got a few people who have asked me about the hats and shirts, and I'm like, okay, I'll do them, but if you can, let me know if you want one for sure. It would be helpful as I'm trying to plan this out. So shoot me a note or something.
What day do you think you'll be getting to IRCHA?
I plan on arriving to IRCHA on the 6th. It's the 6th through the 10th, right? I think is IRCHA.
Okay.
Actually, maybe even earlier than that. I'm going up on Monday that week, and I think IRCHA officially starts like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I'll be there for the duration.
Okay. Well, I'm planning on going on the 3rd so I can watch the helicopter gnats. So
Oh yeah,
I'll be there for sure.
that'll be really cool. All right, so you can just be there through the 6th or whatever it is.
I'm gonna go through all the way to the end.
Okay,
I'm gonna be there for the Nats and Urcha.
nice.
That's the beauty of being retired.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good thing.
I hooked up with Heli Freak for one of their free campsites.
Oh yeah.
They're picking up the camping fees, so I'll be over in the Heli Freak campsite. Where are you going to be?
I'm staying in a hotel.
Okay.
So a couple reasons. One is I have my son with me. Two is I'm hotel time sharing with Andy from Soco Heli Tools, so we
Okay.
can split costs. So
Well, that's cool that you can work that out with him.
yeah, so it saves some money for me as well and helps him out. So
Okay. Are you going to fly at all?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping to take the 450, the 500, the 550, and I should have a little FPV quad by then built. I'm hoping to have one. There's one that's being developed right now. It's not going to market quite yet, but I'm hoping to build one up in the next month. So if I can do it in time, then I'll take that. And I'm definitely going to take out my little 3D foamy plane. That thing is such awesome fun to fly. But
You
yeah,
remember that this is a helicopter meeting. Fun
I
fly.
understand. Yeah. I guarantee you'll see a ton of multi-rotors out there too.
Well, yeah, but see, they're still considered helicopters,
Yeah.
at least in my mind.
You can't go to Urcha and not fly something, not fly a helicopter. You've got to get. I can't understand these people that go to a heli fly-in, and they don't take a model with them. It's just like, it's a fly-in. It's about flying with other people.
Yeah, that is true.
Is AccuRC going to be at Urcha?
I'm not sure. I think Accuracy are going to be there in some form. I'm waiting.
Human form?
I don't know who's going. I doubt Ash will be going, but I can see Roger might be heading out there, and he'll probably team up with one of the distributors. I know there have been distributors announced, I think. So I would think that they'll be out there in some form or another.
Okay.
Whether it's actually the Accuracy team or just the distributor there with a thing set up, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. So we shall see. If I hear of, well, I'll tell you what. I'll find out what they're doing, and I'll tag you in a post.
Okay, sounds good.
Or I'll tag CPO, and then he can reshare it or whatever, and
Okay.
it will appear somewhere.
That works.
Okay.
Anybody else going to Urcha? Probably not, huh?
I wish.
It's a bit far for me.
Yeah. Come on, you can ride on the coattails of AccuRC now.
Yeah.
I don't like travelling much. I haven't been outside of the UK since I was like 5, and I can't be bothered with it. It's too expensive and too much hassle, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially traveling with gear, right, and all your helis, and that's got to be a nightmare on an international flight.
Yeah, I've heard it's a bit of a nightmare, and I don't fancy it. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem. I've traveled to Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere.
Really?
I've never had a problem.
Well, come to Urcha then.
You pay for me, I'll come.
I can't even pay for me yet. All right, gang. Well, I think it's time to call it. It's my bedtime. So, and some of you guys are ready to get up and go to work or whatever you do on Saturdays. That's it.
Well, one thing before we go.
Yep.
Can I say something to Adrian?
Yeah, sure.
I found where you would adjust the anti-aliasing, and
Yeah.
it won't let me change anything. When I click on the drop down, it says no AA, and that's it. It doesn't give me an option to change it.
Okay. There is a way. Are you running Windows 7?
Yes.
There is a way of, if you go, I can't remember exactly how it's done, and it would take too long to talk you through it right now. If you
Okay,
Google it, there is a way of forcing getting Windows 7 to, when that program is running, turning the anti-aliasing up.
Okay.
It's in the graphic card settings somewhere or something like that.
Okay.
But if you Google it, and if you can't find it, let me know and I'll dig it out.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. Right.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it as always, and look forward to hanging out with you on the next one. So until then, fly safe and get back to the building part of Build, Fly, Crash, Repeat. For some of you, we're going to be doing a lot of building. So, all right, guys. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye.